Hi everyone, Liane here. I hope you're doing well. Today I am really excited to unbox and swatch the inks that Wearingeul inks from Korea had sent my way. They reached out to me a few weeks ago and asked if I was interested in trying out some of their inks, and I said yes please. And so after some research, I responded to them and requested the following inks that I'm going to swatch with you today. I received this cute little box that was jam-packed full of inks, in addition to a bookmark from the Secret Garden that is just so adorable. And they also added in the Heart Glitter Potion, which is this pink shimmering component that you add to standard inks to add a little bit of shimmer to them. So as I unbox and swatch these inks, I'll provide a little explanation as to why I picked each one, and also give you a close-up and first impressions at the end of the video. What distinguishes Wearingeul from other ink brands is that their inks are inspired by works of literature from around the world. And so for many of you, the names of these inks will sound familiar and others may not. So I'm happy to dive right in and give you kind of an in-depth review of each ink. This first ink is Architecture Infinite Cube, and the reason why I picked this ink is that it reminded me a lot of Pilot Iroshizuku Tsukushi. And as you may know, that particular ink, Tsukushi, is now discontinued, and when I saw this color online, I was really intrigued by its rich brown color. And not only that, it dries and has this beautiful green sheen. Architecture Infinite Cube is inspired by the works of yuk-sa, who was a prominent Korean author in the early 1900s. This ink doesn't have any shimmer, however, Wearingeul describes it to have some beautiful shading and this really standout green sheen that you'll notice at the end of the video. This next ink is the Autumn Night After 1,000 Years, and as you can see, this is a shimmer ink. A viewer recommended this ink to me after they had seen me swatch Dominant Industries Autumn Forest, which is another beautiful olive green with this rose gold shimmer, and they said that if I really enjoyed that ink, that I should really give this ink a try. And now as I'm swatching it, I really appreciate how this ink is almost like a more muted, like a deeper olive mossy green, and it has this golden green shimmer to it. It's subtle, and if you have the word autumn in here, then I know that I will absolutely love this ink because I love all things autumn. This ink was also inspired by a prominent Korean author in the early 1900s, and their name was yuk-sa. Now we have The Secret Garden, which is an ink inspired by the book The Secret Garden, which was written by British-American author Frances Hodgson Burnett. This ink is a bit of a departure when you compare it to the other inks that I picked because it's probably the lightest out of the bunch. What I love about this ink is that it is like a pastel springtime green that gives off this ethereal vibe to it, especially with the subtle rose gold and pink shimmer on top of the green color base. And this ink is supposed to illustrate the beautiful secret garden that was tended by the characters Mary and Dickon in the book. 3 words that would describe this ink to me would be whimsy, wonder, and innocence. Now we're taking a sharp detour from wonder, whimsy, and innocence to this ink, Othello, and it's based on the tragedy by William Shakespeare. Well, the primary reason why I got this ink is because it has a beautiful, almost like an icy, silver, glassy shimmer to it, on top of this ink color base that is almost like a gray-brown. What's fascinating about this ink as well is that as the ink dries, it starts more of a dark green and then it transitions into kind of like a shaded brown. And I think it really accurately depicts the mood of Othello. Now we have Dracula, which is this really gorgeous red that has, as you can see, this shimmer. And as I swatched the ink, you could really see kind of the silvery, icy blue shimmer as the ink dries. I found out about this ink after watching Amanda B swatching Dracula, And when she swatched it, I knew that I at least wanted to get a vial or a sample of this. But now I am able to get a bottle of it, and I am so pleased with the way that this ink behaves and how it swatches. It is absolutely gorgeous. A Taxidermied Genius is another ink inspired by Yi-sang, Korean author from the early 1900s. And on the Wearingeul website, this ink is supposed to depict the agony of the Korean intellectual around that same time under oppression. So I picked this ink after looking through Mountain of Ink's blog and reviewing all of the inks that she had swatched that were all Wearingeul inks. And I was convinced because she said that this was one of her favorites. And it is this really gorgeous, deep berry wine sort of color that doesn't have any shimmer, but what makes it really beautiful, it has this really subtle sheen as the ink dries. Wearingeul's Wayfarer is an ink that I was first acquainted with when Melissa of Skydyed Inks had swatched inks with me. And this was her favorite ink, and she had written a letter to me using this ink in a broad-nibbed pen, and I can see why she loves it so much. It is this saturated teal turquoise that has a beautiful violet shimmer to it, and you only see the shimmer when the ink dries, as with all shimmer inks. And this ink was inspired by the Japanese novel under the same name by Natsume Soseki. So I finished swatching all the inks, and I'm going to do a close-up of these inks as they are still wet, but as of right now you are seeing glimmers of some sheen and a little bit of shimmer, particularly in the Secret Garden. But now, after I gave it some time and the inks have fully dried, and luckily I have this beautiful afternoon sun showcasing the shimmer, you could see the gorgeous shimmer and other shading and sheening properties of the inks. You can really see the sheen in Architecture Infinite Cube and the gorgeous shimmers, all the different colored shimmers in each of the inks. The glassy silver shimmer in Othello, this icy silvery blue in Dracula, and the complementary sort of blue-green shimmer in Wayfarer. Thank you so much, and thank you to Wearingeul for providing these inks. Take care. Bye.